Coming up, incumbent Senator John Hoeven claims a slim win in his battle with Rick Becker for the Republican Party endorsement. Free flights for veterans, how and why the trips to the nation's capital will soon be taking off from Fargo and Bismarck. And it's a case of good news, bad news when it comes to drought conditions in North Dakota. Hello and welcome to the Nightly Review. I'm Tom Tucker. We begin with a look at tonight's headlines, then a closer look with comments tonight from North Dakota State Senator Rick Becker. He came very close this past weekend to winning the endorsement from the state Republican Party for the U.S. Senate seat held by incumbent John Hoeven. And in tonight's one-on-one conversation, comments from a political newcomer in Minnesota who has just been endorsed by the state's largest police union in the race for Attorney General. But first, incumbent John Hoeven is the winner of the Republican endorsement for U.S. Senate following the North Dakota GOP convention. Hoeven beat out State Representative Rick Becker for the endorsement. The convention took place in Bismarck Saturday with more than 2,300 delegates attending, making it the largest GOP convention in state history. The West Fargo Police Department is joining a nationwide campaign aimed at curtailing distracted driving. The enforcement operation is called Connect to Disconnect. We're told throughout April you'll see officers focusing on ticketing drivers who text while driving. Drivers younger than 18 are not allowed to use phones while driving, and if caught, can be fined and lose points on their driving records. West Fargo's Citizens Police Academy is in full swing. Officers say the free 12-week program gives citizens a perspective on the work police officers do every day, including going to the shooting range, conducting investigations, and collecting evidence. You can learn more about the Citizens Academy by going to the West Fargo Police Department's Facebook page. Well, some FM area veterans who served in World War II, the Korean War, and Vietnam will soon be taking an honor flight to Washington, D.C. Honor flights happen each year around the country, giving veterans free flights to the nation's capital to see war memorials. This year's honor flight from Fargo takes off April 30th. Now this year, for the first time, a flight from Bismarck will also be provided. Cass County Sheriff Jesse Johnner explains what their new canine officer, CODA, will do for the county.
Narcotics detection. Certainly we want to make sure that we can keep narcotics out of our community. Having a narcotics detection canine partner within our organization gives us that different dynamic in trying to locate individuals who are trafficking narcotics into our area.
Sheriff Johnner says CODA, the newest face of the force, will also be used to help patrol both the county jail and schools across the region. While the eastern half of North Dakota is recovering, much of the western side of the state continues to languish under drought conditions. Federal authorities say some degree of drought is present in more than 54% of the state. Federal authorities say conditions are at their worst in the northwest corner of the state, where exceptional drought conditions are now present. North Dakota oil producers could soon face a tax increase. A trigger was put in place in 2015 that would raise the tax from 10% to 11% if the price per barrel averages more than $90 for more than 2 months. Last month was the first time since 2014 that the price per barrel averaged more than $95. Several storage units in West Fargo are significantly damaged after a fire. The blaze broke out Saturday afternoon in the 600 block of 2nd Avenue Northwest. Investigators believe people were living in the storage units. The cause of the fire is believed to be a space heater, but officials continue their investigation. A bridge in Otter Tail County is being rebuilt following a fire. Officials say the County Highway 41 bridge at Star Lake was set on fire in September 2020. Ryan Johnson was sentenced to 5 years in prison for the crime with credit for time served. He also faces 10 years of supervised probation and more than $1 million in restitution. Construction got underway today. And there's good news for drivers of electric cars in North Dakota. A new study conducted to determine the efficiency of electric vehicles places North Dakota as the 4th most cost-efficient state to charge an electric vehicle. Charging an electric car to travel 100 miles costs around $2.67. To fully charge an electric car, the average cost is $6.27. In a closer look tonight, we're hearing from North Dakota State Senator Rick Becker. He came very close this past weekend to winning the endorsement from the North Dakota Republican Party to run for the U.S. Senate seat now held by incumbent John Hoeven. Though the final delegate count was 1,224 for Hoeven to 1,037 for Becker, Becker calls the outcome a victory.
it, my impression was that it was great. This weekend was great for the Liberty movement and for the conservative faction of the Republican Party. For us to come, all we needed to do at the convention was flip about 100 votes, and we would have beaten John Hoeven, who's the Goliath of politics in North Dakota.
After the delegate vote at the Republican convention Saturday in Bismarck, Becker conceded the race to Hoeven and said he would not continue on to the June primary election. Still, Becker expressed gratitude to his supporters.
It's interesting because I think we clearly had passion on our side. We had the principles on our side. We had the people who are concerned about moving America in the right direction on our side. Had the convention been held, say, 3 weeks ago, we would have won handily. But what the Hoeven camp was able to do strategically, politically, very, very, very good job, is that in these last 3 weeks, they were able to fill in the empty delegate slots. They were able to call in people and say, we need you, so on and so forth. And each day and each week that went by, our lead of delegates started to narrow more and more and more and more until, we got to the convention. And so it was a victory, frankly.
More than 2,300 delegates attended the GOP convention, making it the largest in state history. Hoeven has held the Senate seat for more than a decade. If he wins the GOP primary as expected, he'll face Democratic NPL candidate Katrina Christensen. She is a political newcomer and an engineering professor at the University of Jamestown. Time now for a look at tonight's forecast and the forecast for tomorrow with meteorologist Justin Storm in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Thanks, Tom. We're looking at mostly cloudy skies for tonight. Not necessarily cold, though. Temperatures will stay above freezing, but as we head towards sunrise early Tuesday morning, those winds will start to gust up to 40 miles per hour to the southeast, and we're going to remain windy on Tuesday. We'll see a wintry mix in the early morning hours, turning to scattered rain showers Tuesday afternoon with highs in the upper and mid 40s. And as we head into Tuesday night, that will turn back to a wintry mix and snow, and we'll see it turning back to a wintry mix for Wednesday afternoon with windy conditions out of the northwest.
It could happen to you or someone you love. One moment, one diagnosis can change everything. Thankfully, there's a program that helps caring people uplift families through a crisis. Lend a Hand Up, raising financial help and hope through community benefits and online campaigns. A program that boosts generosity so gifts go further. Lend a Hand Up helps you help your neighbors. Learn more and give at lendahandup.org.
Welcome back. In tonight's one-on-one conversation, I speak with a Republican candidate for Attorney General in Minnesota who just received the endorsement from the state's largest union for law enforcement officers. Jim Schultz is a political newcomer, a graduate of Harvard, and a lifelong Minnesota resident. I first asked him for an update on his campaign.
We've got an incredible amount of momentum in the race. We're running for the Republican endorsement right now. We picking up more and more supporters, volunteers every single day. The big news in the race is we were endorsed just this past week on Friday by the Minnesota Police and Peace Officers Association, the largest police group in the state. So we've got support from them and really kind of every corner of the state. And our message is really we have to get back to responsible public safety policies in our state. You have to get back to a responsible Attorney General's office, and we've got incredible momentum with that message.
So how important is getting that endorsement from the MPPOA, and what does it mean to your campaign?
At a personal level, it's the greatest honor of my life to be endorsed by a police group representing, true heroes, public servants going out there every day to protect us. And so on a personal level, it's just an incredible honor. In the race, it is just, a massive endorsement, most significant endorsement, I think, in this race. During the support of Minnesota law enforcement goes a long way with people to make clear that I'm the candidate who will support law enforcement, who will work with them to deal with the massive public safety issues that we have in our state, and who ultimately will spend my days partnering with them to deal with crime and not, as we've seen these past few years, not vilifying them, maligning them, as so many others in public office have done here these past few years, including, to be candid, Keith Ellison.
You blame Keith Ellison for the property damage caused by rioters in Minneapolis following the death of George Floyd. How and why is that the case, and can you elaborate on that?
So Attorney General Ellison is formerly the chief law enforcement officer of our state. I believe he had a duty in the aftermath of the death of George Floyd and the subsequent riots and so forth to take responsibility, to stand up and say these riots are not acceptable. It's not acceptable to burn down homes, businesses, and the like along Lake Street in Minneapolis, to aggressively prosecute them subsequently, and to really set the tone for the state. And instead, he and others in office, through the course of 4 days there before the Minnesota Guard was called up, really sat on his hands and did very little to stem the incredible crime and violence that was going on. And this was 4 days in which an entire neighborhood in Minneapolis was terrorized. And this is just not acceptable. It's not acceptable, and it's incumbent upon leaders to stand up, even in difficult circumstances like that, to insist that the rule of law be followed, that people are not, no matter what the circumstances, people are not permitted to riot, burn down businesses. You hear these stories of these small business owners, these sometimes immigrant small business owners losing everything they had in these buildings. And so it was incumbent upon the Attorney General to stand up, insist upon that the crime and violence must end. And I don't believe he did that effectively or with any significant degree.
So how and why do you think you're the right person for the job right now in Minnesota?
So what we need to do in this office is get back to responsible policies, get back to the apolitical administration of justice. And right now we don't have that. And what I'll do as Attorney General is be a sober voice in that office to restore public safety, to insist that if we have an office that takes cases, manages cases apolitically. And we don't have that right now. You can see there's many instances in which we have an Attorney General who's operating from a fundamentally far left political outlook. And the administration of justice shouldn't be political. It should be apolitical, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whether you're a police officer or otherwise, it should be apolitical. And that's what I'll bring to the office. I'm not a politician. I haven't been, involved, just running in partisan offices for all my life. I've been in the private sector where accountability, results matter. And I'll bring that mentality to the office and insist that we get back to effective, proactive public safety policies. And that's really what we need to do in that office, and what I'll absolutely bring.
I'd like to thank Jim Schultz for joining me for the conversation. You can hear the interview in its entirety right now online at WDAYradionow.com. Now, 4 other candidates are seeking the Republican nomination in order to run against the incumbent Democrat Keith Ellison. I'll look to host a conversation with the Attorney General, Mr. Ellison, in the near future. Well, that will do it for this Monday, March 4th, 2022. I'm Tom Tucker. Thanks for watching the Nightly Review. Have a great night.